One thing to quickly note about this particular episode is I was having quite a bit of microphone issues, so I do sound a little weird and tinny because I had to just revert to the microphone that was in my earbuds. Before we dive in, if you've ever felt like success isn't feeling as fulfilling as you thought it would, or like there's something more to life, something more out there for you, but you just don't know what it is, then I've got a free training for you. It's a webinar that I hosted online. It's called The Power of Vision, 3 Keys to Mastering Your Results. It's designed for anyone who feels like they should be further ahead, but something's missing, and they just don't know what that something is. And you can grab instant access at ianwhitecoaching.com/the power of vision. Now, my guest today, Emma Jane Sandford, is such a great way to finish off our podcast launch series. She is a mindset coach, a digital nomad, a former teacher. She's originally from Northern Ireland, and having lived all around the world, she provides a truly unique view of that world and what she understands from all the different cultures that she's been immersed within. You're going to learn a lot about the power of just saying yes to adventure, even when you're unsure or scared, and the amazing experiences that you can have off the back of that yes. So listen in, enjoy. Emma, thank you for joining us. Let's start with, because as we were talking about before we hit record, your list of travels and adventures is quite epic, to say the least. Before we get into that, let's start off with your kind of journey about how you got into traveling, and how you got into adventure. And
Sure. How I got into traveling. Well, I grew up in Northern Ireland, which for those of you who know is very, very small town kind of country vibes. And I remember just thinking like, there has to be more. There has to be more than this, the same conversations, the same people. And I think my first big trip whenever I was about 14 or 15 maybe. And I went to Canada on a Girl Guide trip, and it was the year of the recession. So that trip was actually cancelled, but we were like, well, we're going to Canada anyway. We've raised this money. We're going to go. So I went with a big group of people that I'd never met before, and we stayed in I think we went to some like random summer camp. And I remember just thinking like, wow, there's a whole big world out there that I know nothing about. And then it got to the time where I was applying for different universities. I only applied for universities outside of Northern Ireland, so UK-based universities, but only ones that had Erasmus year or a year study abroad, because I just knew that I just wanted to get away. And as soon as I finished university, I booked a one-way flight to China, and that was it. So yeah, I guess I've just always kind of had that itch, just as a result of, I grew up in the countryside in Northern Ireland. I went to the same school from reception, which is before primary school, right the way up through until I finished my A-levels and graduated high school, driving the same road to the same school, had the same friends. And I was just like, I need a change. So yeah, I guess I went straight to China, and that really opened my eyes to like, okay, like there is something on the other side of this world that is completely different, where I can be a completely new person, where nobody knows me, and I can reinvent myself over and over and over again. And I love that part of traveling.
was you on your own when you went to China then? Sorry.
Yeah.
What was that like? And how old were you? Sorry.
That was just after I graduated uni. So I would have been like 23, 24. How was it? Honestly, I don't really remember that trip. I think it was so overwhelming. I was there for 2 months. I went with a group, an internship group, because I remember like at the end of my university, when I was just about to graduate, I went to my university jobs fairs, and there were all the stands, and I did business. So they were telling me about all the corporate jobs. And I just remember thinking, I'm going to shoot myself because this sounds so boring. Every single job, I was like, hell, no, thank you. So yeah, then like at the very end, there was this little stand, and it was like, come to China for 8 weeks. And I was like, okay, I can put off the job search for 8 weeks, I guess, at least. That sounds different. So I went for like unpaid internship. I think I actually paid to go to work for free. And yeah, what was the question again? Sorry. What was that trip like? Okay. Yeah.
What was it like for you?
And it was just very overwhelming. I was still like big in my party girl phase at that time. So I was partying a lot, partying every night, then going to work the next day. And Yeah, so I went to Zhuhai, which is a city just above Macau, if you guys know China, like very near Hong Kong. And I flew to Hong Kong, and then I was meant to be getting just a ferry across, very, very simple, from Hong Kong to Zhuhai. But then at that time, there was a typhoon. So I arrived in Hong Kong, all the ferries were cancelled. I had to get what I actually ended up doing was getting like a subway across Hong Kong. Then I had to get a train up to Shenzhen, then a different train to Guangzhou, then a different train down to Zhuhai. I hadn't sorted out like VPNs on my phone or anything. I hadn't downloaded WeChat, which is their version of WhatsApp or Instagram. All the trains were cancelled. At this time, none of the signs in the train station were in English. So I didn't know what time my train was at or what time, what train I was even getting, what platform. And I was just standing with my little, I think I had a big backpack at the time. And I was just standing there in the middle of each train station, like, what the hell? Everybody's speaking Chinese. And like, luckily, Chinese people, a lot of them are very friendly. So like, if they can't speak English, they will try to help you. So quite a few people came up and they were like, where are you going? And they're like, okay, these people are going to the same place as you. So they like lumped me together with this family. None of them spoke any English, but I just knew, okay, if they're getting up to get on a train, I'm going with them. And then I arrived there finally, and I was so late, and I had no way to tell the girl who was picking me up, who was organizing my internship, that my train was delayed or that I was even on a train. So she was waiting for me in the train station for like 10 hours or something by the time I arrived there. And then I couldn't get my phone sorted for so long. And they have a lot of bikes there, like kind of like Boris bikes, but you don't have to return them to a certain place. You just ditch them literally wherever. And I could see all these people getting around on these bikes, but I couldn't work them because I didn't have a phone and I didn't have a bank card and I didn't have the ID. And it was hard. It was really hard. But it was a real, just like, I felt invincible at that time. I was like, nobody knows me here. I don't really know what's going on. There's no way that I can understand this culture because it is so different from mine. So I may as well just have fun here. And I really did have a lot of fun on that trip. But I actually went back to that city when I moved back to China like 2 or 3 years later, and I didn't recognize anything. It was so weird. It was like, because really, I don't really remember that time. I really think it was just so humiliating that my brain didn't really process like where I was and what I was doing. But yeah, I went back there and I was like, I don't recognize any of these places.
Like
Yeah.
a new experience all over again then.
Yeah. China is, yeah, it's a trip. It's so good.
There's something you mentioned then that I want to pick up on, because you're saying you don't know the language and they didn't have signs and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know about you, but when I was traveling and we went around Sweden, Finland, and Norway, they did have some signs that were in English, but there's parts of the country where there was no English, and I felt so ignorant because
Yeah.
I made no effort whatsoever to learn their language. They could see like I'd be struggling at some point, and they'd just coming over and they'd obviously see that I spoke English, and then they'd just start speaking English, and I just thought, such a dick.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, isn't it? The way
It
we
is.
Brits deal with other languages is mortifying. And I went to Berlin for my year abroad in university, and I remember like some German people whose English is probably better than mine, and they were like, "I can't believe you've come here and you've not like bothered to learn any German." I was like, "I'm just here for partying, like whatever. Everyone can speak English, no problem." And I just think like, as I said, like Chinese people are so welcoming. And if you go to China and you say like ni hao or like xie like hello, thank you, they're like, wow, like thank you so much for learning our language. Like we really appreciate that. If you don't have perfect English and you come to the UK, we're like, learn English before you come here. We are so impatient, we are so intolerant. And I think it's I feel real shame for our country and the way that we treat people that come in because we don't learn other languages. And we think like when we go to their country, we can just speak louder or stand up or speak with our hands and then they should understand. And if they don't, then they are uneducated. So yeah,
Louder and
we are very
slower.
ignorant. It's only when you learn another language do you realize like, wow, British people are so intolerant. And it makes such a difference when the people whose country you're going to are kind and understanding as you're fumbling around in a new language because it's hard and it's very humbling.
It really is. It
Yeah.
really is. I felt so guilty. So guilty.
Yeah, but I've been there.
Not
I was in
not enough
Germany
to
for a
make me
full
learn whilst I
year.
was travelling round.
Yeah. In Germany, I was there in Berlin for a full year, and all I learned was like, can I borrow a lighter? This is when I was like partying, like, give me your passport for your ID. That was it. Apart from that, I was like, I'm not going to live here, whatever.
So do you know any Chinese now then? Sorry, Mandarin, is it?
Yeah, Chinese Mandarin. Yeah, I speak pretty fluent.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long did that take you to learn?
It's ongoing process. I've been studying for about 5, 6 years. They say it takes 8. I would say now I can have like pretty good conversation. I can get whatever I need from the conversation, but like higher level stuff, of course, it's not quite there yet. But it's, as you can imagine, it's fucking hard.
Just for the listeners, myself and Emma know each other from previous kind of helping each other with when we were first starting out coaching, and so I kind of know some of the things Emma's gone through. So I'm going to try and play the idiot and act like I don't know some of the stuff that you've done. But one thing that Emma did when she filled in the application to come on to the podcast, because one of the questions I ask is, what adventures can you talk about? And she listed all
Okay.
these different things, and it was digital nomading for 2 years, sailed from Australia to Indonesia, Fiji, and the Solomon Islands, hitchhiked Edinburgh to Paris, road trips around China, lived in the Indian mountains, run a sailing school in Darwin, and then just at the end she adds on, etc., etc., etc. So nonchalant. Like, oh yeah, just another thing that I've done. Don't worry about it. But tell us about your digital nomading for 2 years. What was that like?
I guess it's funny because when you are in the digital nomad scene, like people are like, oh, how many countries have you been to? And for me, it's not that many compared to a lot of people, right? A lot of people are on their hundreds or whatever. I'm just like 30, 40, something like that. Like I don't really count. But yeah, I guess I have been quite a few places. It started pretty much 2 years ago, exactly from now, August. And yeah, I was in China. I had done that 2-month internship. Then I moved to Australia for a couple of years. And then I went back to China and I was there for about 4.5 years. And then pretty much overnight, I quit my job and I just thought I need something more. I'd gone there for English teaching, not because my heart was particularly in being an English teacher, but that was just the easiest way to get to China with the easiest visa to get. It's pretty good pay. It's very easy working conditions. And I arrived there just before COVID. So I arrived there end of 2019. And then COVID started. So I was trapped there for 4 years and I couldn't leave, but I was very happy there. So I was pretty happy that COVID was on. And then just overnight, I woke up one day and I was like, what am I doing? Like my original plan was to go to China for a year, save up some money, then travel for a year, then maybe go back, then travel for a year. But obviously because of COVID, I wasn't able to do that. So yeah, one day I just woke up and I was like, oh yeah, like that dream that I had about traveling and doing that. And I guess COVID was like a very sheltered time. So I was terrified at the thought of leaving China. Like even like getting on an international flight, I was like, oh my God, like my passport. And I was like really nervous going to the airport, like leaving China. Like China's so safe. Like nobody knows anything about China, I feel like in the West, but like it's so safe and nothing can really go wrong there. I really feel very sheltered when I'm there. So I was like, oh my God, the big bad world going back to the West. Like, and all Chinese people are like, you're going to get mugged. And I was like, I know, I'm so scared. Yeah, I didn't get mugged. One thing about me is I find I'm very lucky whenever it comes to traveling. But yeah, so I was quite nervous to leave, but I was like, I need to go and like find my purpose in life and find a bit more fulfillment. And yeah, I'd fallen into the trap of just wanting like an easy life, but I was like, no, like I'm made for something more than this for sure. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna at least like go away and just take a full year and just explore and travel and meet some new people and put myself out of my comfort zone and get back on a boat because I'd not sailed in so long. I was living in Chengdu, which is like right in the center of China, like probably as far away from the sea as you can physically get anywhere on this planet. And I was like, I miss the ocean and I needed to get out of China because it's such a bubble there. Yeah, I just quit my job, no plan B. And I came back, of course, first to the UK. I hadn't seen my parents in a long time. And that was when we filmed our last podcast episode that we did together. Yeah, since then, I have been here, there, and everywhere. So I did the UK. I went to Italy for a hen party for a wedding that had actually been cancelled, but we went on the hen party anyway. Then from there, I found a boat that was sailing from Fiji to the Solomon Islands. So I flew to Fiji. Well, I tried to fly to Fiji. I actually ended up missing my flight because I hadn't got a visa for Australia, a connecting visa, which I didn't realize. That was a very expensive mistake at the start of my travels. I cried in the airport at that one. But anyway, we learn. And I went to Fiji. I did that boat trip from Fiji to the Solomon Islands, which was incredible. Like 12 days of sailing nonstop across the ocean. You can't stop in the middle of the ocean, obviously. But yeah, incredible trip. We swam with dolphins. We did fishing. Unforgettable. Then from there, I went to Bali. I did a couple of months of yoga. I went back to Australia. I did a couple of months there. And that was when I started coaching, which I'm sure we'll get into later. Then where did I go from Australia? Then I went to India for the first time. And I've been back 2 times since that because I really fell in love with India. Then where did I go from there? Then I went back to China. Then I went to Taiwan. Then I went back to India again. Where have I been since? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Then I did like times between since then, like in the last year, I've spent like 3 months in China, 3 months in India, 3 months China, 3 months India, and now I'm back in the UK, but only for 10 days.
Did you do some traveling around Europe at some point? Or have I just made that up?
I did Cyprus for a friend's wedding last year. I did a weekend in Greece. What else did I do last year? Yeah, I did a couple of days in Spain. Next week I'll be going to Portugal. But yeah, actually Europe I haven't really spent that much time in because I was like, too close. I'll do that when I'm retired. Like, let's get. I like Asia. I like a culture that is completely different. I like to be walking around and thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I want something challenging, I guess. Not
What
challenging,
does
but
that
just something that's like, what?
and what does that do for you then?
I guess I like China because the first time I went there, I was like, this is not. Everybody has an opinion about China, right? And everybody thinks they know what it's like because they've watched the BBC or whatever. But I went there and I was like, all the stuff people told me about this country is pretty much not true. So I was like, oh, what else did I learn growing up that's actually not true? Or what other rules do we have for ourselves or how things should be that actually people on the other side of the world just don't agree with at all? So then I just really started to question literally everything and think like, okay, am I doing this because I want to do this, or am I doing this because that's what I was taught to do due to the society in which I grew up in? But actually, there are no rules because we think things should be like this, but then people on the other side of the world, they think something completely different. So obviously, there's no right or wrong, and I can choose: do I want to follow that way, or do I want to follow this way, or do I want to find something completely different that's somewhere in the middle? So I think it really just showed me that there is no one truth, that you can completely make things up as you go, and that whatever you do in life, somebody is going to disagree. So you may as well do what you want. And I find
You
that
may
very
as well
freeing.
do what you want. That's the tagline for this episode. You may as well do what you want.
Yeah, may as well do whatever the fuck you want. And that really is like a main philosophy in my coaching as well, because people come to me and they're like, oh, I'd love to, but, and I'm like, but what? What do you actually fucking want? And just do that. And they're like, oh, but I can't. I'm like, why? Tell me a good reason why you actually can't. Because someone once told you that you couldn't. Does that person have the life that you want? No, then don't listen to them. And really, yeah, we can all do what we want, but we tell ourselves that we can't.
So I'm interested. What are some of the reasons people give when they say I can't do that?
This is the beauty. Once you ask them, they don't know. They don't have a reason because there are no reasons, right? They're like, oh, but you can't do that. I'm like, why? They're like, what would people think? What would people say? I've never done that before. I've never seen someone do that. But then I challenge them, well, has anybody ever done that? And they're like, well, yeah, I guess some people, but like, I'm not like them. Why not? People make up some absolute bullshit, but I really love to call that bullshit out.
Are you quite blunt with your clients then?
Yeah, I think people would say that. No bullshit approach is a feedback that I get quite often. But I hear the word in my feedback a lot, like permission as well. Like I give them permission to do what they want because everybody has some deep desires in their heart, but they feel they're waiting for something. Permission from who? I don't know. But I give them that permission so they can then give that permission to themselves.
And is it fair to say that the traveling that opened your eyes up to just do what you fucking want and kind of
100%.
helps you build your kind of programs for your clients as well then?
Yeah, 100%. Because Northern Ireland is very sheltered, or at least my childhood was very sheltered. We lived really in the countryside down a lane. Growing up, it was just me and my brother, and I didn't even like my brother when we lived together because we were
Who
just
likes the siblings?
siblings. Now we're best friends, but whenever we were kids, we did not get on at all. So it really was just me. And of course, then you are a product of the environment that you grew up in and the society that conditions programs you. So I was like, well, not really got many options. And like, as far as I know, you just have to like work hard until retirement. And like, life sounds pretty shit, to be honest. And then I remember like going away and I was like, wow, like you can do whatever you want. And these people are doing it like that. But I was always told you have to do it like that. So like, what way is right? Maybe I can just make up my own way. And then I guess I really started to learn what it feels like to design your life based on your values, because there is no right or wrong. So you may as well follow the feelings that feel good in you. What do I really love? then I tap into all the woo-woo stuff and I'm like, oh, I actually get rewarded from the universe for being my true authentic self, which is not attached to any culture or society or my parents' expectations or anybody's expectations. And the more I tap into that true authentic version of myself and check in with my own energy to see what do I really want and what do I authentically desire, then I feel like I'm rewarded from the universe for following that. I guess also traveling for me gives you that time to be alone, because when I was in university, I was always busy, always partying, always with somebody else. So there's a lot of noise and you don't know what you want or who you are, what you really, really want. You just know what everyone else is doing. And you're like, okay, well, like, I guess I'll just do that. Like, doesn't really sound good to me, but like life's shit and then you die, right? We all heard that expression. I was like, I don't really want to buy into this. So yeah, I think traveling is really important because you have that time alone to really think like, okay, I could do anything right now. Nobody here knows me, so there's no expectations. What do I actually want? And this is a difficult question for a lot of us, right? What do I actually want to do today? I don't know. If you actually really ask, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, how many times have people genuinely been asked what it is that they
Yeah.
truly, truly want?
And it's funny because now, I guess, as a coach, you work with your real ideal clients. So now I don't ask this question as much. But when I was first starting out, I was just working with whoever would work with me. And some people really didn't know the answer of like, what do you like? What do you enjoy doing? They're like, I mean, like I do this. And I'm like, no, no, no. It's not what do you do? What do you enjoy doing? What feels good to you? What feels bad to you? They're like, I don't really know. And people really don't know the answer to this question. And that baffles me because we never really question it. We're like, oh, everyone around me is doing that. Everyone around me is going to the pub on the weekend and working and going away to the same holiday home every summer. Like, would I actually choose that if I knew that there was another choice? Maybe not. But we don't question.
No. Exactly. Exactly. Just taking it back to some of the things you've done. Tell us a little more about that sailing from Australia to Indonesia and Fiji, if you could, because that sounded, as you just kind of quickly skipped over it in your listing out of the many things that you've done. And you mentioned like swimming with dolphins and all that kind of stuff. So tell us a little bit more about that because that sounds amazing.
So I grew up sailing in Northern Ireland, as you can imagine, very different from doing it around Fiji and Indonesia. We had the wetsuits on and it was usually raining, often very windy and actually pretty scary. I would say I didn't enjoy it that much as a child, but it was very important to my dad that I did it. And it was the one thing that I really did stick at throughout my childhood. And then when I was like 14 or 15, I started just teaching it to the kids in our yacht club. And that was like my Sunday job for a long time. Then when I left university, I stayed in Edinburgh for a summer and I worked in a sailing school there. And then when I moved to Australia, I only applied for sailing jobs because I didn't really want to work in hospitality. And that seemed to be the only jobs that I could. Well, no, I enjoyed sailing and I enjoyed teaching sailing. So I applied for sailing jobs when I got there. And I moved to Melbourne and I worked in a sailing school there for a while. And then it started getting kind of cold towards like March and April. And I was like, I'm going to move to the other side of the world to wear a jumper. Like, what is this? So I Googled like, where's the hottest place in Australia? Darwin, hot all year. I said, perfect, one-way trip up to Darwin. So I was working there in the sailing school there and I met a friend whenever I was there. And every year from my sailing club, they do a race from Darwin to one of the islands in Indonesia. They actually have 2 races per year. And as I was finishing up my job, getting ready to move back to China, my friend was like, I'm gonna do this race. Do you want to do it with me? I was like, why not? Sure. And the island that we did was like super close. It's like 3 days sail or something. So I was like, 3 days, I can manage 3 days. And then after we did that, we then stayed on the boat for about a month. Wow, that was incredible. Just like snorkeling every day, like crystal clear waters, going to these islands where nobody had ever been before. Or like maybe some people have been, but like deserted islands, nobody there, just wow, some of the best snorkeling in the world. So Raja Ampat is like a place where a lot of people go to dive. They say it's one of the best dive sites. I was only snorkeling at the time. I've actually never done diving, but yeah, that trip was really amazing. And it just showed me, again, a completely new world because whenever you just stay at home and you don't go to these kind of places, you don't realize that there's a whole community of people who live on boats forever. And, we think like, of people who live on boats, they're a certain way, but like I met all these different people from all different walks of life. And some of them are really rich. Some of them had no money. So I was like, oh, this lifestyle is actually accessible to everyone. And like, there's whole families living on there, like homeschooling their kids. There was like single people sailing around the world by themselves. And it just shows you like, there's no limits to what you can do. You can have any kind of lifestyle you want. Like, it's absolutely mad. And then, so I did that. I did that for a month. Then I moved to China, and that's where I was there for 4 years, 4.5. And then my last trip was last year when I flew to Fiji again. So this time I didn't know the guys who I was doing it with. And I guess I was kind of, yeah, I was just in kind of like a fuck it, why not sort of mindset. And I went on this website that has boats with people who are looking for crew or crew who are looking for a boat. And I signed up, and the first guys that got back to me, we did a quick video call, like 10 minutes. We were like, okay, vibe check, like seems to have passed. Great. I'm going to book a flight to Fiji. And it was only when I was actually on the flight going there, after I'd missed my first flight, that I was like, I'm flying to the other side of the world. Like, what if I get there and these people are absolute psychos? Like, I've never met them before. I've also not sailed in like 4 years. I haven't even been on a boat in 4 years. But I was like, oh, what's the worst that can happen? And I got there, and I actually chose this boat because there was one girl on there at least, because there's a lot of, as you can imagine, like single men on these websites, and they just want like a girl to come and live on their boat with them. And like, if you're in the middle of the sea, like that trip we did, it's like, if something happens in the middle, it's a 6-day sail to get anywhere. Like, you're not stopping for 6 days. If something happens, you're fucked, right? So that was a very big lesson in surrender for me, getting on that boat, because once you're going until you get somewhere. So yeah, I got on that boat, and we started out, and like, honestly, the day we set off, the guys were pretty drunk, and I was like, this is pretty scary. Like, the waves are getting bigger, and I'm like, okay, like 12 days. I'm going to be on this boat for 12 days. Like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I was very lucky. The guys were amazing, and the boat was really great. Like, there's some boats doing that round the world trips, and they should not be on the water, those kind of boats. So I was very lucky, because I really didn't vet the guys that I was signing up to go with at all. I was just like, well, it'll be fine. Like, I just have a feeling that I want to be on a boat right now. And these people said, yes, so great, let's go. Let's just see. But the girl who was on the boat, she'd been on a boat before, and she said she literally got off on an island where there was nobody, like uninhabited island, because the guy was an absolute creep. So I was very, very lucky, because it happens, right? There's nowhere to go. If you're in the middle of the sea, there really is nowhere to go. So I was, touch wood, as I said, I am very lucky with these kind of things. And that was another time where I was very, very lucky.
How did she get off this island?
So this was in Fiji, which is an archipelago. So there are a lot of islands and a lot of boats that sail around. So I think she was on the island for like 2 days. Then a boat came by. She was like, help me. So yeah, she's very lucky. And obviously didn't put her off for life, because she managed to find these guys, and yeah, now living the dream. But yeah, that trip was amazing. It was 12 days to Solomon Islands. I didn't know, I'd actually never even heard of the Solomon Islands before this trip, but I'd heard of Fiji, and I heard that there was a boat that was there that needed someone to crew. And I was like, I volunteer. And it was only as we were going from Fiji to the Solomon Islands on this 12-day passage that we watched a film. It was a documentary about the Solomon Islands, and the documentary we chose to watch was The World's Most Dangerous Prisons, Solomon Island Edition.
If this episode is hitting on for you and Emma's incredible journey is inspiring you, I want you to do me a favor. Screenshot it on your phone, post it to your Instagram stories, tag me, uncharted_adventure_podcast. Let me know your biggest takeaway, and I'll be reposting some of your insights, reading them out on the podcast. And we're potentially going to have guests of listeners come on to the show and tell us about their incredible stories and journeys as well. Now, back to the show.
Why is everybody in the Solomon Islands in prison? Most of them are for sex offenses, because
Boats.
yeah, on boats, yeah. Not on boats, thankfully. But we were watching, and we're like, oh, one of the most dangerous prisons in the world on the Solomon Islands, a place where there aren't many police, and we're going in there. And we were just like, God. And then we were like, malaria is pretty rife in Solomon Islands. Anybody got any malaria medication? Nope. Okay, well, we're going in. So yeah, we were very unprepared. There's also like a lot of crocodiles in the water in Solomon Islands, and it was bloody hot when we were there. So like, there wasn't much swimming going on as we were there. So it wasn't quite the snorkeling adventures that we had whenever we were in Indonesia, but yeah, unforgettable experience, I would say. That was a real trust for me, because I've definitely like gone through periods of my life where I've been a complete control freak. But when you're on a boat, with nothing to do, you have to let go of control because there's literally nothing you can control. You're really at the mercy of whatever happens on there. So that was really good. Yeah, test of my ability to just take it as it comes and accept whatever it is. And I guess that's another thing with traveling is like you can't control everything. So it really does help you to be a lot more relaxed and laid back and accepting of whatever you come across.
Yeah, and I think kind of a lesson from what you've just been talking about then is say yes to more things.
Yeah, 100%. And
Say yes to more
sometimes
things.
you're going to regret it, maybe, sometimes not, but you'll never know if you never try.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll never have experiences like that if you let that fear just creep in and that doubt just creep in. Because you could quite easily have said that 10-minute call was not enough.
Yeah. But, I think like for me, I don't know how much you know about human design, but in my human design, I'm a sacral authority, which means I make decisions from my gut. Whatever I feel, I just go with. I called them. They didn't need to say much because I was like, I feel like it's a good idea. So I'm just going to go. And I don't need to know the facts. I don't do the pros and cons list. I'm just like, feels like a good idea. Okay. And I never really like look back or I never really regret the decisions I make because I'm just like, I can't be bothered to think, should I or should I not? I'm just like, it feels like I want to. So I'm going to do it. And I just leave it at that.
I literally interviewed someone yesterday evening for one of the upcoming episodes, and she was talking about human design as well.
Yeah.
And I've heard of it, but I've never kind of looked into it anymore. But what she was saying about it sounded quite fascinating for you too.
It really is incredible because, we've all heard of like astrology and your star signs and stuff. And a lot of it is very vague and like, oh, like maybe you'll have some problems like in the next year. And it's like, oh, that's me. I'm going to have problems in the next year. It's like, but human design is, I do readings of human design for my clients and like every single one is like, oh my God, like that is me down to a T. And it's not fluffy. It's not airy fairy. It's like very specific. That is exactly how I show up. And that is exactly how I make decisions. And that is exactly how I respond to challenges or when things don't go my way. It's very, very clear. It's like a real blueprint for your life and how you live. So yeah, human design is, I don't know how they do it, but it works.
I'm very intrigued by it now. I'm very
Yeah.
intrigued. I know this might bore some listeners, but what do you do?
So there's a website called myhumandesign.com. You put in your date of birth and your exact time of birth. You have to know the exact minute. So if you don't know that, unfortunately, you can't work it out. But you put in your details to that, then it will tell you. And then it's a bit of a process to kind of learn what it is and what each thing means. But I'd be happy to do one for you, Ian.
I'm very much like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm so
sure.
intrigued by it now since I've been hearing more and more about it.
Yeah, it really is like it. I think people find it very validating because it's like, oh, now I see why I am this way. And now I see how I guess the way I kind of do the readings for people is like, these are the potential challenges that you might come across as a result of you being this way, you being like, yeah, it's like a blueprint for your life, right? So as a result of you being this way, this is why you might find these kind of situations difficult. But these are your tips for moving into alignment with your unique design. And if you do things this way, things will really flow for you and be really easy. So anybody listening, I would love to do your human design. I love doing them for people. I find it so fascinating. But yeah, Ian, I'd be happy to do them for you.
I'll take you up on that. I
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
will take you up on that. Just getting back to the kind of traveling, and we'll move it on a little more to kind of what you've got going on now. Just getting back to the traveling side of things. Sailing school in Darwin.
Mm-hmm.
Was you running it? Was you basically like in charge, the manager, or what was that?
Yeah. So when I went in, I was the head instructor. And then by the time I left, I was training manager. So the training center was under my management, I guess.
And how long was you there for?
About a year and a half, I'd say. I did 2 seasons. So yeah, I think it was about a year and a half by the time I left.
What kind of? I'm intrigued by what kind of lifestyle that is as a running a sailing school. Because to me, in my head, when you say that, I've just got images of just sitting by the sea and then taking people out sailing, coming back, and then just chilling and
I
very
guess
relaxed and calm, peaceful.
I wouldn't say calm at all. I would say it's pretty, pretty stressful. But I would also say like there's running a sailing school and then there's running a sailing school in Darwin. So Darwin is, I guess a lot of people don't know so much about Darwin. I would like, for example, I did a season there that I went down to Sydney for the Christmas holidays, and like people in Sydney, they'd be like, "Oh, where do you live?" And I'd be like, "In Darwin." They'd be like, "Oh, Darwin? Why?" Because people don't know so much about it, and it is a very interesting place. So I didn't really wear shoes for like 2 years. My office was literally on the beach. Darwin water, not many people swim in there. The locals won't swim in the water because there are crocodiles in there are sharks in there. In the wet season, they have box jellyfish, the most deadly jellyfish in the world. There are all kinds of different. The first aid course you do when you live in Darwin is pretty wild because, you know, normally we do like CPR and like this kind of thing. Here it's like, if you get stung by a conefish, which is deadly poisonous, this is what you should do. Or like,
If you get your leg bitten off.
yeah, it's a trip. And like we saw a shark whenever we were doing it, we saw a crocodile on the beach. Like it's not relaxing for sure, especially whenever you're the one running it and you're the one whose neck is on the line if anything does go wrong. But yeah, I also loved it. I mean, it was an amazing
Sounds
experience.
exciting, to be fair.
Yeah, it was really good. So yeah, my day was I used to cycle a lot at the time. So I would cycle to my office, which was literally like it was kind of like a lifeguard hut on the beach, where so looking up, and the tides in Darwin are some of the strongest tides in the world. And we had a really big flat beach. So like at the spring tides, the beach, the water would be like 1 kilometer away from the shore, but then it would come all the way in. So if you timed the tides wrong, you were pulling your boats up that beach for like 1 kilometer. But yeah, I had all kinds of different groups. I had like kids groups, adults groups. We had some special needs groups come in. We would have like youths who'd been like in and out of jail come in. Those ones were super fun. All different kinds. We had like army groups come in and I would teach them. We had like little small boats and then we had like bigger keeled boats. So yeah, different every day, which I really love. Like I love that variety. Yeah, just living on the beach is really nice. Darwin is super chill, so everyone is very laid back. I think it was like quite difficult for me because learning to sail in the UK, learning to instruct in the UK, like UK is all about health and safety. So everything we do is like very, very regimented. Like these are the way things should be. These are the ratios that you should have for safety. Like everything should be checked and this, that, and the other. And Darwin's just like, whatever, mate. Like everything's gonna be fine. We have like 14-year-olds like driving the tractor and like outboard engines on boats, which like we are taught in the UK, like these are killing machines. Like these will kill anybody who is near them. But in Australia, they're like, whatever, like people can be swimming in the water near the engine. Like, no worries. And I'm like, yes, worries. Yes, worries. Please, someone take this seriously. Like, honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind there. And I also taught sailing for one summer in Nashville in America as well. And they were also very like loose, just like, whatever, like nobody really knows what they're doing, but like anybody can drive the banana boat, that's fine. And I was like, it's not fine. I'm told that, like, and everyone's like fucking crazy Brit person, like crazy about health and safety. I was like, people die, please, someone listen to me. So yeah, I've never ground my teeth, but I did grind my teeth at that time in my sleep. I would dream about people getting killed by engines pretty much every night, but it was also a lot of fun. That was my first full-time job. So that was really like my entry into like the world of full-time work. And I was like, God, this is stressful. And then like, Darwin, because it's not many people go there. So it's either people who've been there and they've grown up there in that really loose, like chill kind of atmosphere. So they're like, oh, whatever. And like, maybe they come to work late or maybe they don't show up or like when they're there, it's not the same as like our British work environment, I guess, or our work ethic, or it's like people who've come and they're just volunteering or people who are just there for the summer. So yeah, it's quite difficult to manage. Anybody who's managed volunteers knows what that is like. And I was just like fresh out of university in a new country, trying to manage like volunteers and then like kids working for me and like grown-ups who like didn't know much. And I was like, oh my God. But yeah, it was interesting. And it was really that I guess I'm doing something very similar now. So it was very helpful to what I'm doing, which is like I came in and then suddenly like I was doing everything. So I was doing like the program facilitation, I was doing the instructing, I was like trying to manage the roster, trying to manage people getting paid, trying to manage the volunteers, like giving reports to the members of the committee. I was like doing everything. And yeah, it was a very steep learning curve. But it was good. Yeah, it was good. I had a lot of fun. And then I guess like I left and I went back to China after that because I was like, so I started at this level, I got promoted to the training manager. And then I was kind of like, of course there was variety in it, but I was like, there's not really anywhere else to go for me at this stage. And I kind of felt like I wasn't really being challenged. I felt my brain capacity just getting lower and lower and lower because I was like, everything's very easy and like pretty chill in Darwin and like I need something to get my brain juices flowing again. So I was like, China, I could learn Chinese. I'll choose the hardest language in the world and I'll just go and do that.
Why not? Why not? Tell us about, because you touched on it a little earlier. Yeah, tell us about India. I know you've been there a couple of times, as you said.
India's a funny one. The reason that I went, always a good story. I was in Bali doing my time there whenever I was learning yoga, my first kind of entry into yoga. And I was on the phone in this coffee shop of a yoga school to my friend who had just got divorced and she'd been with her ex-husband for like 10 years. So she's like, Emma, like my old life is ending. My new life is starting. Somewhere that I always wanted to go was India, but he never wanted to go with me. So I'm going to go to India and I'm going to book this tour. I only have to, how long did she have? I think she had like 16 days or something. And she wanted to book a tour, but it was like $2,000 or like $15,000 or something. And I had been in Asia for a little while at this time. And I was like, that amount of money is crazy. And she was like, but I've heard that India is very dangerous and I don't really want to go by myself. And I was like, fine, I'll go with you. Because I was like, I'm not going to see you pay that money. And like, India's definitely not on it wasn't on my list of places to go at that time. I was like, yeah, I've heard people go and I heard they like it, but like, I had other places that I wanted to go first, but I was like, whatever, like, I'll do this for you. Sure. Yeah, I'm a good friend. So I was like, okay, I'm going to book and I'm going to go to India with her. And she had a very strict amount of time. So she was like, I'll plan everything. And I hate planning. I'm very much just like rock up and see what happens. But she was like, I have a time. So I need to know exactly what I'm doing every day. I was like, great, just tell me where I need to be and I will come. And I'm just here to support you, basically. And I went and we did the Golden Triangle, which is super touristy. And honestly, by the end of that trip, I was like, okay, India, great. Never need to come back here again. Like I've ticked it off the list. It was very intense, enjoyed, but didn't love necessarily because we were just going around like the big cities. It was super busy, like very intense. And then we arrived for the last 2 days in Rishikesh, which is like 5 hours drive away from Delhi, right in the foothills of the Himalayas. And it's like the yoga capital of India, they say. At the time, I was not into yoga. And the first time I went, and the second time I went, actually, I didn't do any yoga whenever I was there. But I just went and they have like a real spiritual community there and everyone is very like conscious, intentional, like really nice vibes. And at that time, I was really not into any of that, but I was just like, this feels different. And usually when I go abroad, I don't love to go to the really touristy places. But after like all the craziness of like central India, by the time I got there, I was like, it's nice that there's other like foreign people here and people are wearing like yoga pants and we're not having to cover up so much. And it feels like a little kind of bubble. And it was in the mountains as well. I just really loved the mountains. So I arrived there and I hadn't booked my flight to leave India because I didn't know where I was going and I didn't know when I wanted to book it. And my friend was leaving in a couple of days and I stayed one night and I was like, maybe I'll just not book a flight just yet and just see. And then I think I ended up staying for another month by myself. My friend left. I was like, bye-bye, I'm going to stay here. And then, yeah, really special place. Really, really good. Rishikesh, for anybody who's been, is just like something special about it. I don't really know how to put it into words. It's just like a special kind of energy there. A lot of like old yogis who've been going there for like years and years and years. And it really feels like a real family kind of environment. Like, you can go to the same coffee place every day and you can have a chat and like, each other's names and it just feels really, really nice because Indian cities are crazy. And I think,
Go on, sorry.
yeah, Rishikesh is really nice because you can fly to Delhi and then you can get a taxi straight to Rishikesh. It's 5 hour taxi. It's like 50 pounds or something, so cheap. And then you're just there in the mountains. I'm really a mountain girl. So just to be there in the mountains and like so close to nature, it's quiet. I'm sure like most people's perception of India is like very noisy, a lot of beeping, a lot of people. But Rishikesh is like just like a small little peaceful. Of course, there are still some beeping. It is still pretty noisy, but it's nothing compared to Delhi, for example. So yeah, it's really nice.
I think that's one of the kind of best things about traveling is it gives you more of just the snapshot view that you have from what you see on the news. Because
100%.
anything you see about India on like British TV is just, it looks rammed.
Yeah. And it's the same with China, right? The stuff that
chaotic.
we see on TV is the stuff that gets the views, right? It's not really the real thing and it doesn't show the whole picture. And I think this is why, I was saying I've not been to so many places compared to some other digital nomads because I much prefer to be in one place and to really get to know that place. Like that's why I didn't enjoy those first 16 days in India, because we were moving every day, every other day. So you don't get the feel of somewhere when you're just staying there one night. So then when I've been back to India in the past, I've actually gone straight to Rishikesh and I've stayed there for 3 months because I want to get into it, right? I want to be in the local community. I want to know people as I go around. I want to feel like, okay, this is because as well for me, like I don't have a home, right? I don't have any tax residency anywhere. Like I don't have a place that I'm like, okay, this is my base. So I like to stay in one place for a little bit longer to feel that familiarity and feel like I know where I'm going and really be able to understand. Because when you are just a tourist, just going through for a couple of days, you don't understand really what it's like.
Kind of making me go off and dreamland. And when you're talking about the mountains and stuff, that's my happy place. It's just
Yeah, me too.
so peaceful, and yeah, something about it, which I've been banging on about on so many of these episodes. So I won't keep boring the audience with my stories of the mountains. But what else have you done then that we haven't touched on before we kind of wrap up with what you're doing now?
I guess I did like a lot of my big trips and stuff in my first year of digital nomading. And then I've kind of slowed down a little bit since then. So as I said, like in the last year, so last time we spoke was last summer when I was back in the UK. And then since then I went back to China for 3 months. Then I went to India for 3 months. I actually did yoga this time, finally. And I did 3 months of yoga in Rishikesh start of this year. Then I went back to China again for 3 months. And then I've just come back here. So I've been like a lot more settled, a lot more kind of like finding my feet and just like enjoying work and getting a little bit back into a routine because yeah, I think I am quite good at like keeping my routine while I'm traveling. Like I guess a lot of people would look at my lifestyle and be like, wow, like it's so chaotic, but I like my routine. Like I go to bed super early. I like to like, my life is not so crazy. Although it's in a different place very often, but like I'm a very simple person. I like the mountains, I like my coffee, I like quiet time. So yeah, it's nice to just kind of be a bit more slow. Saying that, after 3 months, I'm like, okay, time for a change.
Something more challenging. So what is it? What are you up to now then? I know you've got this belief breakthrough course, but what are you doing and what does that entail? And yeah, talk about that for us.
So I have been a life and mindset coach for a year and a half. And then recently, what I have started is I've started my own podcast. It's called the Rising Sun Podcast, which, yeah, I tried to start a podcast a couple of times, but it's never really kind of taken off. I've done like one episode here and there and then never really got into it. But now it really feels like the right time. It feels really, really nice. And I've been loving recording those episodes and really just kind of like speaking longer because I'm sure you have experienced like it's hard to be in the online space. It's hard to like fit what you want to say into a 90-second reel. And like, I like talking. I don't want to rush everything into 90 seconds. It's hard. So yeah, it feels nice to actually be able to speak and slow down and really, yeah, get my message across. And yeah, so my podcast is kind of for the people that I work with really, which is, like the soulful people, the sensitive people, the people who feel like they are here for something more than just the mainstream kind of life. And it really, to me, feels like a permission slip for my listeners to like slow down and tune in and to step into a life that really feels like theirs rather than just kind of what's expected of them. So I've been doing that. And then I have also very, very recently in the last couple of weeks, I have started my own online community, which is so exciting. I really feel, yeah, this is my most exciting thing that I've ever done. I think this one. And it's called the Expansion Collective. And it is just like a really warm and intentional community online full of people who are doing the inner work and they just want that support and accountability while they're doing it. So I have all of my coaching resources on there. I have pre-recorded meditations and breath work and EFT tapping. We have journal prompts. We have weekly wins where we celebrate each other. We have, intention setting and focusing for the next week ahead. And it's just a real corner of the internet where we can come together to learn and grow and expand into our most expansive selves. So yeah, it's only just getting started, but it feels really, really nice. And we have group calls every week, which is a really nice time for people to just kind of come together and be really open and honest and share what is going on because yeah, basically I guess it's the place that I wish I'd had when I was doing this work by myself. So
Nice.
it's really cool. I love it so much.
It sounds really good. I liked the way you described the two things then. So it's like your podcast is like a permission slip, and your community is just a little corner of the internet.
It really, yeah, because I think that is kind of the energy that I bring to my clients. Like, yes, okay, I have that no bullshit approach and like I can be quite direct, but also like I provide that safe space for them to really admit what it is that they've maybe never admitted to even themselves before, let alone anybody else. So I just really want people to see that they are not alone in this journey and that other people also have the same dreams as them. And it's so much easier to go after what you want when you see other people doing the same. So I think like having that accountability, like, you know, they say if you tell someone about your goals, you're 65% more likely to achieve them. But if you update people on your progress, that turns into 95%. So I really want people to just feel that push to just go after what they want, seeing other people doing the same, because it's scary. I'm sure you know, like, and I'm sure many people who've been on this podcast know as well, it's scary to say, like, actually, I don't want what I've been told that I should want, whether that is 9 to 5, get a house, get a car, get married, like whatever it is. I want something different. Like that is a scary thing to admit to yourself and then to go after. So to have other people there, like giving you that permission and encouraging you to step into that full version of yourself, I think that's really special. So I feel very, very fortunate to be able to provide that.
Yeah, and I really encourage people to kind of surround themselves with people who are where they want to be, because, like you say, it's so hard to admit that you don't want the norm, even for reasons of not just what other people will think, but from my own personal perspective. It took me so long to tell my partner what I was doing, purely because I did not want to be a failure at it, and then therefore be a failure in her eyes. So there's
Yeah.
so many different little reasons, but the help of the kind of people around me that I was on the journey with allowed me to then kind of step into that. It can be quite difficult. So yeah, I really do encourage people to surround themselves with a community of people that are there to offer support and
Yeah.
have good ideas themselves that you can lean on and steal as well.
Yeah. And it's important to note that like people around you, they're only reflecting back their own fears and hesitations about themselves, right? If nobody that you know has ever quit their 9 to 5 with no plan B, people around you are going to be like, whoa, that is crazy, because they themselves could not imagine being brave enough to do that. So it doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong. It just means that these people are not brave enough to do it themselves. And, you know, sometimes that does come across as like, you shouldn't be doing this. But we say that like, you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around with the most. Like for me, I say I haven't been to that many places because I know people who've been to 100 countries and I've only been to 30 or 40. Whereas to someone who's never left the UK, they're like, wow, Emma's been all over the world. I haven't even been to South America. So in my mind, I'm like, I haven't even touched on the places I want to go. So it just shows that like whatever circle you're in, you will become. So that's why I also love traveling, because I'm in many different circles. So I just see that anything is possible for me or for anybody.
Well,
One other thing that came to me that whenever you were saying that, I just want to add is never, ever, ever, ever take advice from anybody who has not got to where you yourself want to go. And this is something that I say on literally every podcast, in every coaching call. Do not ask your advice. Do not ask your dad for advice if he does not have a successful company, if you're asking for business advice. Don't take relationship advice from your aunt who's on her 3rd marriage. Don't take advice from people who have not done the thing that you are setting out to do, because they don't know. And they are not the people to ask for advice for. So this is just something I wanted to add. I feel very strongly about this.
Amazing. Emma, this has been I feel like it's been quite an inspirational episode for people to listen into, because you tell your stories so well. Yeah, it's very inspiring, and hopefully people love it as much as I've loved the conversation. So thank you so much for coming on, and we'll drop all your links in the show notes and the blog post for everybody as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have you ever felt like business should be more than numbers and deadlines? Like there's an entire world to explore beyond your office walls? Is adventure calling your name? I'm Ian Whitehead, and I'm your guide on Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure podcast, where I bring you real stories from visionary leaders who've built empires and climbed literal mountains. Because success isn't just about the bottom line, it's about the thrill of taking risks, the courage to pursue what truly lights you up, and the freedom to chart your own course. Each week we'll dive deep into the minds of boundary-pushing entrepreneurs and adventurers, revealing how they found purpose in the chaos and discovered their true north, both in business and beyond. So, if you're ready to break free from the ordinary, embrace bold action and inject a little more adventure into your life, welcome to Uncharted. Your journey starts here.